big thing that a lot of successful people worry about is or a downfall if they're not worrying about it is falling into the trap of surrounding yourself with yes men.
Right.
And a lot of times, like if I'm trying to get in with a really successful person, I try to be as honest as I can, and I'll make like jokes, and I'll try to make it as friendly as possible because I know that they're lacking that. They probably have more people around them that don't give them the honest truth. And so if there's ever an opportunity where I'm like, I won't will things out, right? But if there's ever an opportunity where I'm like, I don't know if I really agree with that.
Right.
If that's with a client who's essentially the boss, right? If that's with a
leader,
if it was like a VC, even when it was like at Rocket, it was like sometimes some people didn't take it right. But then other times it was like, okay, at least I'm an honest voice. And I'd rather have that be my reputation than somebody who's like, will placate the person.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, absolutely. We are here.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Founders Drive another week.
Yes, we're back.
We are back
after the Thanksgiving holiday.
That's right.
Here in America. I've talked to a couple people abroad, and I realized that it's not a
international holiday.
An international thing. It's not even all throughout North America. I used to live in Canada where we celebrated it.
Oh,
in
sure.
October.
No, it's just USA.
USA. Yeah. So, happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes.
Shall we get into it?
Let's get into it.
Cool. Constants. What's updated with Constants?
We are now allowing users to pimp out manage their shop, right? Their digital products by allowing you to select the order in which your products are offered.
Ooh.
So your highest ticket offer can go at the bottom or the top, whichever you want. And so we're just giving everyone a little bit more customization.
Yeah.
In terms of what their offers are.
Yeah, and where we basically broadcast these offers is on a landing page or a mini website. Where it's not the full website. And honestly, a lot of people have been asking me about websites, but websites they're a lot of overhead for today.
Yeah.
As in, there's so much content on the socials and on these different platforms where if you're directing somebody off of the website, you want to make it as easy as possible for people to find information. And many websites, just landing page websites, single page websites, end up becoming really, really easy to navigate and find what you're looking for off of the social platform.
Yep.
And so that's why we're focusing on that as opposed to like a full complex website, which has its value, has its place, but for what we're trying to do, trying to get somebody who's an early entrepreneur started, you might be a student, you might be somebody who just lost their job, You might be somebody who just wants to explore your passion and see what that opportunity presents.
You might be somebody with 3 or 4 jobs right now.
Right.
Still can't make ends meet.
Just juggling.
You know?
Or you might be making ends meet and you might be saying, hey, I just want to see what's under this stone. The point being is that I think the best way to do that is through mini website and then surrounding those tools around that. And so with Constants, Jake's talking about that customization. You can customize how you order different items that you have laid out there, different digital products. And the main reason around that is like Constants was just basically built for the new entrepreneur.
Yes.
Everyone has an offer. That's a tagline that we're getting more and more used to, but I think it hits. I think it came out on this show too.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, it's a place for people to invest in their interests, profit from their passions, earn from their experience, and collect on the things that they care about. And that's something that I think is going to become more and more prominent in the near future. It's already becoming prominent with all these layoffs that are happening.
Yeah.
All of the younger generation, that Z and Alpha, that haven't had an opportunity to get into any work experience.
Yep.
But you can still display the things that you can do, and that's kind of what we're getting at right here.
Yep. And the cool part is that every single episode that you guys are watching here has another episode with entirely new content on Constants.
Yeah, the good stuff.
So check it out if you are interested.
Yeah, check it out. Man, let's dive right in.
Yeah, so
let's go
this
right in
week,
there.
the man, the myth himself.
Yes.
The founder of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang.
Is it NVIDIA or is it NVIDIA?
NVIDIA?
I say NVIDIA.
I've heard NVIDIA.
But I heard a lot of people say NVIDIA.
Yeah, I like the N. NVIDIA. NVIDIA? Yeah, it could be NVIDIA, I guess. One of the largest AI hyperscaling companies of the century right now. I mean, he took it from nothing to literally the center of attention for everybody in the AI race.
Yeah. I don't have the stats off the top of my head right now, but it's one of the first companies to break a market cap of $5 trillion.
Yep.
His net worth ballooned from $3 billion, which was already an insane amount, to over $90 billion in 2024.
Yep.
And then I think it sits at about $146 billion right now.
Just keeps going up.
Yeah. So, I mean, something to quickly highlight is a lot of people are looking for that 1%, 2% raise. But if you look, money's a relative thing. Mm-hmm. It's a relative measure of value and energy, and you have to look at the top earners in the world. That wealth gap is real. If you're still making, 30K, 40K, and then next year you're hoping to make 32K, but then the top 1% is going from 3 billion to 90 billion. That's something to be paying attention to. That's something to be saying like, hey, maybe I'm not getting compensated for my value right now. So again, that's kind of like a little contents plug, just for the people that need it. If that sounds like you and you're like, hey, I need to go and find another way to crack this this earnings cow, then you might want to look around and stuff. But anyway, he saw rapid success in the last like 5 years. But before that, I mean, they
were doing good stuff for a long time, but they definitely exploded exponentially in the last 5 years, along with the AI boom.
Yeah, along with the AI boom. So kind of going back a little bit before we get into some of his isms and some of his notable career moments. He was born in 1963 in Taiwan, and his parents, I think he moved to Thailand pretty early to support his father's job, but then at a young age he was sent over to the United States to live with family friends while his parents found a way to come to America. I think early on his dad took a trip to New York and he was like, oh, this is it. This is the land of opportunity, and this is where we need to be. This is where we have to put our kids to give them the best opportunity at life and at success.
A story with a lot of immigrants that have that experience, and they're like, oh, if I can, I'm gonna get my child or my family over there.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, even
over
with my
here.
Even with my parents, even like my dad, I like joke how my dad is Moses leading people to the opportunity land instead of the promised land. Because obviously he's Moses and he's leading people into these different areas. But after coming, he also made it easier for other people to come by just telling people about what to expect, what the process is like, and just making sure that they had an avenue to actually make it here. But it is the land of opportunity, and a lot of immigrants come here because they can exercise that opportunity that they just couldn't do in other areas.
Yep, 100%.
So they came here relatively early. He got put into a boarding school where I believe he got bullied pretty early on, but he also learned to stand up for himself, learned to hold his ground. And he, when he was over here, his mom had him learn English by teaching him 10 words a day and really stuck on with him about that. And a lot of immigrant parents are like that, where they recognize that in America, assimilation is a big thing. I think it has kind of a bad rap right now, but I think that there's opportunity that comes to people that really invest in the whole dream and the whole ideal. And that's something that their parents really encouraged early on. He ended up going to Stanford, I believe.
Yeah, I think, but that was a little bit later, obviously.
Skipping through his through his
formative years.
His formative years. I don't have any stories about his formative years outside of him going to the boarding school, which ended up being a reform school. And so it was actually pretty tough. Yeah, he was with all of the kids that would get into fights, breaking the rules. Yeah, that would bully you. And he ended up, that's the most that I understand about his formative upbringing.
So getting into Stanford, then, I think is where we start to see some of his aptitude for technology and his just like intense desire to learn stuff, which obviously carries out till today. I mean, they call him the professor.
The professor, Professor
in
Huang.
the company, which is crazy.
Yeah, he's a big teacher, and I think that's a through line that we see with a lot of founders. Is a lot of the best founders and entrepreneurs are great teachers, which makes sense because communicating is a big part of business in general. Being able to communicate ideas, being able to communicate value.
I think there's a nuance there that, like, I wouldn't expect Jensen or even like Zuckerberg to tell me, maybe like if I'm like an early hire, how to code a component, right? Like, I don't think that's the kind of teaching that we're talking about. I think it's I mean, obviously, yeah, Jensen has that knowledge and can teach people, but he's going to hire the people with the specialty. When I was going through some of the Jensen's like story stuff, the teaching that I was, I guess, comparing it to was like, okay, this is the company's mission. This is why we're all here doing what we're doing. This is the vision that I have, and this is what I want to teach you.
Right.
And so that kind of rallies people to kind of do their best work. Some people might be like, oh, he's teaching people machine learning. It's like, he might be a little bit, but that's not the main thing.
But we can even, and this is kind of jumping at it, but I mean, obviously, it is what it is.
Jump.
But yes and no, because I'll say this. I'll agree with you in the sense that there are levels to teaching. Like, I would imagine that he's not teaching his direct reports, which he has many of,
like 60 or something.
But I'd imagine that he's not teaching them how to do their job specifically because they're all high level.
Exactly.
But there is a world where when they were released CUDA, they had to go and teach people how to use actually use the interface and actually like code on their chips.
That's true.
And so there is that element of, you know, just like, and again, I have the mindset of teaching is changing behavior. And so that range could be around, hey, we need you to use our product, or we need to get people to invest in this idea. Or it could be like, hey, we need to make sure that we're aligned with the mission. And that's just more broadly speaking. But
yeah, I just figured that like once you get to that level and you're starting to hire people that have expertise, you don't, like, if I'm teaching you how to do the minutia, I fucked up. Like, I really messed up because I should be wasting my time having to go through these simple things when, you know, we're a company at this size that it should just, I feel like it should be more mission stuff. But you're right, with the CUDA stuff, they obviously had to teach people, and did a whole bunch of campaigns to do that, eventually getting it as the industry standard, which it is today.
Yeah. So before we kind of get into like a lot of his, you know, his notables, he ended up working for AMD after he graduated college.
And AMD is a chip manufacturer,
Yeah,
another chip manufacturer,
yeah,
which is crazy because that's its competitor now.
And he was raising his two kids while he was doing that. He ended up working at LSI Logic. He ended up leaving AMD to go and work as a technical officer over at LSI Corporation, and then working under a startup company, and working under Sun Microsystems, a startup company, right? And that's where he met Chris Malachowski and Curtis Prian.
Yep, Sun Microsystems was obviously later acquired by Larry Ellison.
Yep.
But yeah, those are the three people that started the company.
Yep, and they were the more like hands-on technical co-founders. He was more on the business side, and it's kind of cool because they just had a really good experience with him managing projects and working alongside of him, alongside of them, that when they wanted to start the company, they basically pulled him in and said, hey, we want your advice on how we can write these contracts. I think they were trying to submit a bid for some projects or something like that, and he was basically like, why don't we just make this ourselves? And they were like, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
and
build it.
So they ended up all joining together, creating this startup, leaving, and then I believe their boss ended up investing in them, or
I think so.
Yeah, one of the executives ended up investing in them early on and introducing them to Don Valentine at Sequoia Capital.
So Sequoia got in really early. It was like $20 million.
Yeah. Apparently,
first seed fund.
And apparently Wang had a terrible pitch. But in this whole pitch, the guy was like, hey man, first of all, don't fuck with me, don't lose my money or I'll kill you. And he was like, okay, but he was like, but I'm investing in you because you have a good reputation.
Yeah.
And so reputation does precede you. And this is something I'll get into in the super secret later about like reputation and persuasion and the whole like how I'm thinking about Aristotle's ethos, pathos, and logos in real terms. People use like those old Greek terms, like we know what that means, but
yeah, it's definitely a good discussion to examine that stuff, because that deal wouldn't have gone through if it wasn't for his, I guess, like being known, right? Like, his reputation, like you said, precedes him.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's but that's something that we can get into a little bit later on Founders, the super secret episode of Founders Drive. That's on Constance. Only exclusive. So check that out. But kind of moving through here a little bit, they ended up leaving, resigned their jobs to pursue a venture together making graphics chips for PC games.
Yep.
They initially they initially named the company Envision, but then they changed it to NVIDIA based on the Latin word NVIDIA, as Priam wanted competitors to turn green with envy.
Ooh.
So NVIDIA means there, I guess, in envy.
That's so funny.
In Old Latin.
I like that. Because they also have the green little logo in there.
Yeah, they're like, that's
in
you,
their brand.
green with envy of us. But yeah, so they met frequently in '92, and they would go to this Denny's that Huang used to attend when he was younger. He used to work there. They said it was quieter than home, cheap coffee. On April 5th, 1993, they signed the Articles of Incorporation and created the company NVIDIA.
Which, yeah, I mean, like, it's crazy that it was in '93.
Right.
I mean, I was born a couple of years later.
I was born a year right before that, so.
That's wild. I mean, I do know that Jensen does talk about those first 10 years of the company not being what he would have expected or wanted.
Yeah.
Looking back at it. But I think there is like a lot to be told in terms of like going through those trials and tribulations. Yeah. Really early on in the company, they decided to, build out advanced processing, like their first ever GPUs. But back in the 90s and the early 2000s, the GPUs and the technology just wasn't the best. A lot of the big players in the world, like Microsoft, were doing 3D graphics using triangle rendering.
We'll go back for a second.
Yeah.
GPU, CPU.
Sure, yeah. So your CPU is your like central processing unit. And so that'll be stuff where you can do pretty much everything on the computer. That's where like your cores are. That's what does anything you're trying to do in a computer. The GPU, your graphics processing unit, is what typically does all of the animations, the visual effects, and the rendering, right? If you're playing like a video game, all of that action that's rendered is done on the GPU. Obviously, fast forwarding a little bit to like today, CUDA is designed to do all of the math on the GPU side versus the CPU side. And that was actually a white paper that was published, I think, in the late 90s around the computational benefits of running calculations on a GPU versus a CPU. Because everybody in the world was trying to do their operations on a CPU, and they were limited. And
if you're really like not in the technical space at all, it's basically like a computer is computing information, and it's in that whole computation process, it's processing information. It's a process, and it takes time. And the CPU and the GPUs do it slightly differently. And moving over to the graphics processing unit, basically what you were talking about is like that was typically reserved for animations, etc. beforehand, and now that's being used for actual just like raw information processing, which opened up a lot of capabilities, but it wasn't as straightforward. It took like some insight to basically say, okay, this is actually the way that this is something that we actually can do. This is an option.
Yes.
And NVIDIA doubled down on that pretty early.
They did, but it was funny because everyone was trying to do, and this is before that paper, their first chip in '95, I want to say, was quadratics animation. And so you would actually have to mimic whatever you wanted to animate in terms of a quadratic, and then the computer would then be able to recognize that. So that's how their chip performed. All of the competitors, Microsoft, Intel, all the big players at the time were doing triangle rendering. And so the graphics would be a little bit more triangle, and that's how like all the models would come out of their chips. And so NVIDIA, their first chip wasn't compatible with like Microsoft 3D Object. And it was not good for them. They almost went bankrupt, I think in 96.
Interesting.
Because they couldn't sell any chips. So they ended up having to pivot to the triangle-based rendering for their chip, I believe in 96.
Okay.
And they actually had to lay off a lot of people to then make that switch over, but it ended up saving the company.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like we talked about, it got even better with CUDA. But yeah, that pivot really early on, it's just super interesting because I think most people would be like, no, I'm gonna keep my head down and keep going. But picking your head up and looking around and saying, this is where the future is going. That's just one of the times I feel like Jensen's like, yep, I got this one right.
Yeah, they were almost too ahead of their time.
A little bit.
Yeah, and they had to not only take a step back, they also had to then educate the people around them to say, okay, this is what we saw over here, this is where things are going, and let's, educate everybody and bring everybody up to speed, which I think kind of speaks to the whole teaching aspect of it, because there was that's one of the excerpts that I did hear, is that they had to literally go out and teach a lot of people how they're creating the future and how they're crafting the future. But something that you said that really stuck out is how it was largely based on a paper.
Yeah.
And this speaks to the whole like thing that we saw with Larry Ellison and how he moved into relational databases.
100%.
And how that was based off of an insight that they saw in a scientific paper, a research paper. And there's a few other examples that are in the Founders Drive lexicon, but then also just in general, where people take these ideas and they say, okay, how can we actualize this? If this is where things are going, how can we double down on it?
Yep.
Actually, I would say this, the attention is everything.
Transformer paper.
Attention is all you need. The Transformer paper that Google put out in like 2000, what was it, 16?
Yeah, around there.
And then OpenAI picked up and ended up implementing to create ChatGPT and, starting the revolution that we're moving into today. So, yeah, it's kind of remarkable how there's these insights that are just out there. It's really just about how we take action on them.
Yeah, but it's also crazy because like looking back at those first 10 years or so, Jensen's very open.
Yeah.
That looking back at it, it was sloppy work. It was he had this he was talking about like the first couple years at NVIDIA, and he was like, we really wouldn't do much. We would hang around and we'd have conversations, and the biggest like topic of the day was like, hey, where'd you guys want to go get lunch at? Like that was a big deal. And then eventually that turned into like, hey, we're coming over to your house every day, like maybe let's go hit a coffee shop, let's change up the scenery. And then it's like, hey, we're coming over to your house every day, maybe can you have like donuts waiting for us in the fridge? And that was a big thing. So it was like these really small wins that they weren't really doing anything. But like he talks about the transformation that he had to go through when he was running the company then and now, and it's radically different. Radically different.
Yeah, now that sounds the exact opposite of how he conducts himself and how he operates.
Yeah.
But but speaking to just the larger point, man, it's a lot of it is realization. A lot of the growth is realizations. And you don't get Jensen Huang of NVIDIA today without all the tribulations that he went through before.
That's true. That's true.
Like, I think some people will look at that and say, if this was different or if that was different, but that's just not the case. Like, he had to go through that stuff to get to where he is right now.
Yeah.
And I think a big reason why he conducts himself right now is because he looks back and he's like, damn.
I wasted some time.
Yeah, I wasted time, or I was focusing on the wrong things, and et cetera, et cetera. And everybody has their own path. I think about that a lot with learning in general, where a lot of learning is creating the space to mess up and fuck up. And then when you know what you know, then you can take things to another level.
And that speaks to something that I feel like is super primal in Jensen, in terms of like stuff that he's learned about himself and to apply to his business like throughout, is the fact that to be able to go through those experiences, to be able to mess up, means you have to have a lot of resilience.
Yeah.
You almost have to be tortured into greatness, you know, where it's like, okay, I need to be able to endure this for long enough so I can eventually find out what works, and I'm not going to get it on the first try.
Yeah.
And so being able to have that resilience and to continue like working and pushing is something that I think all great entrepreneurs have.
So why don't we go through some of his isms that have spoken through his work and through his career, and things that we've just kind of learned while digging into him and researching him. So Professor Jensen, Professor
Talk
Huang,
about that a little bit, yeah.
Well, how he's just an educator, but that also speaks to a lot of people, man. Is like marketing is a lot about education.
True.
You hear Munger and when you heard Munger, you'd hear Buffett talk about how they spend a lot of time reading, learning, and then teaching. That's just a through line. It's like always studying too is another thing too.
Yes, always learning, reading.
He's always going to school. I think in the early days of, not the early days of AI, but the early days of the new wave of AI, it wasn't uncommon to see Jensen at some of these conferences
himself
with his notebook and pen.
Yes, not sending
notes,
somebody else.
Going there and learning himself. And that also speaks to just like, the idea of learning and teaching, learning, teaching, learning, teaching, learning, teaching. The faster that we embrace those muscles and continue to exercise them, the better it reflects in the career and the decisions.
What's the opposite? What if you're not learning and teaching? Like, I guess you're just like complacent. What are you doing?
Well, it's like it goes to the Munger thing that we talked about. Invert.
Yeah.
If what's the fastest way to make sure that I'm not up to speed or that I'm not growing?
Not doing anything.
It's like, don't learn. Actively avoid learning. Actively avoid teaching and communicating to the rest of your organization and your customers what you've learned. And that's an easy way to make sure that you don't find success.
Yeah, I feel like a common theme is like complacency kills, and so you'll see him in motion a lot.
Yeah.
Always in motion.
He doesn't have a set office at his...
Always in motion.
Always in motion. He drops into a conference room. He's very unconventional in that way, which I like and I respect.
Too,
and he's open about it too.
Yes.
Right? And so he's very, removed from the... we having some.
It looked like it was about to fall, but I caught it.
Okay.
So we're back. Little intermission.
We are back. Okay, so we talked about Professor Huang. We talked about how he studies. We talked about how he teaches. Whiteboards, which is a tool for every educator and professor.
Huge fan of whiteboards. Me personally.
Talk to me about it.
I think if you can't explain your idea on a whiteboard, then you haven't actually thought it through.
Yeah.
Like, it's very obvious when someone gets up to the whiteboard and they have a blank canvas and they have to explain something to you and they start drawing and it's like, oh, maybe this, and then they erase it, and then they draw something, then they erase it, and it's like, all right, like, maybe go do it yourself once or twice, come back, and then we'll have a good discussion about this.
Yeah.
And so utilizing the whiteboard, I mean, I've done it in an enterprise setting, it's super helpful to get that idea across.
I loved whiteboarding in the meetings that we would have at Rocket and just in enterprise settings in general, business settings in general.
Yeah.
I very much enjoy it because it kind of moves things along.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very, very good communication device because it's open so you can start however you want to, but it also is really clear in terms of, okay, are we on the same page? Because this is everything that we're looking at right now.
Exactly.
This is the reference point.
And Jensen uses this to that same effect of everyone should be up to speed, and we're going to be all up to speed by watching you do this on the whiteboard.
No, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So complacency, that was a big thing that he is
always got to be in motion. To me, that's what that is. Is be in motion, because otherwise complacency, you can't rest on your laurels or your wins.
Yeah.
Because somebody else is going to very quickly overtake you.
Yep. Always raise the bar.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, but in being a former high jumper, that's something where you have 90 seconds to rest on your laurels, and then we raise the bar and we jump.
Yep.
And I love that how it trained my mind to think about success, where we can reflect on it when it's all said and done, but for this moment, we need to raise it and continue moving forward, or else the opposite is that we don't continue to get better.
Right.
It's funny how success gives you the opportunity to
be complacent.
Well, be complacent, and the reward is more work and more responsibility
if you want to stay successful.
Yeah.
There's always that. I could just back out, but no, you got to keep going.
Exactly. So then we have insisting on so he has a very flat organization.
Yes, he does.
And organizationally, that's a huge trademark of him. He had 60 direct reports as of like a couple years ago, and I think it might be more now. And he's very insistent on that. He doesn't like the layers.
And the reason he's able to do this is he doesn't do one-on-ones.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like, that's a huge thing in any enterprise setting.
Yeah.
Any enterprise setting you're either going to have a one-on-one with your direct leader or your skip, which is the leader's leader, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, honestly, there are leaders out there that make this 80% of their schedule, where it's just like, yeah, I'm doing my one-on-ones.
I'll never forget that. I was talking with a friend who worked at Google.
Yeah.
And she was like, I have a one-on-one every week with her team of like 7 or 8 people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? It's just, it's like the company practice here. I don't think that they're doing this anymore. This was before the whole, hey, we need to mobilize and operate like a startup.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's how out of control things got. Where
I feel like there's a lot of companies that still do that.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you need to meet with all these people, and one-on-ones off. Like the idea of one-on-one is to make sure that there's scheduled time for people to interact with their team, and have the space where they can talk about things honestly, clear, and important stuff.
Yep.
And I find that doesn't happen all the time.
It devolves into politics. It devolves into
like. Who's dating who, all these different things.
Office drama.
Yeah, even outside of office drama. There's some stories I've heard that they've talked about in one-on-ones where I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah, like family stuff. It's like, why are you getting into personal stuff in your one-on-one? What's going on here?
Or like dating happening outside of the place. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. But the thing is I think it was made to fix a problem where some people just never had any space to communicate. But that thing that maybe needs to happen once or twice a year ended up becoming a regular weekly thing, and it turned into a therapy session.
Yes.
Which is not what, in my opinion, work is about.
No.
So I love the idea of flat structure, no one-on-ones. Let's just talk. Like, if you need something, talk to me.
Right.
And I think that we can get into this next thing too, where he talks about criticizing publicly.
Yeah.
But Steve Jobs was another person too that didn't do one-on-ones. He was like, "You're talking to me right now. What do you need a one-on-one time for? Are you better than everybody else? Are you special?"
Right.
And then it becomes that thing where it's like, okay, now one person needs a one-on-one, so now everybody else needs a one-on-one, even though they don't really need it or they don't really care about it or they're cool talking about things in the open. But now we have all of this other time blocked off, a minimum of, let's say, one-on-one is. There were hour one-on-ones too at Google too, which I was like,
we had the same thing Rocket.
I never had a
really
one-on-one. I had max 30 minutes.
Every single time was an hour,
and I was like, that's and some people will take it shamelessly. Like, no, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna talk, and you're gonna listen to me, because if you don't, I'm gonna report you to HR. That's not a great environment to be in.
I think a lot of people find things to keep them busy in corporate.
Yeah. And
it's just like, you're not actually doing any work. And that happens a lot at a lot of different companies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing right now in terms of a lot of like the blowback from the last few years. But yeah, that's just one of those things where I'm like, it drives me up a wall sometimes with how much wasted time there is. It's like, let's just create that channel where maybe the person's always asking, hey, if you need any scheduled time, let's do this. But even then, it's like this stuff can get out of hand.
And also, just on top of that, to be able to facilitate news and to be able to facilitate things that are happening, he encourages group discussion.
Yeah.
And so it's not like a one-on-one with, 2 people. It's like a one-on-one with a group.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're all going to have this information at the exact same time. You're all going to be able to voice an opinion, which, good and bad, I think in a group setting like that, you definitely get those people that are really outspoken, and they ended up, capitalizing on the time that's available. But I think it allows you to move a lot faster when you're not spending the 60 hours a week or whatever with 60 direct reports.
Yeah. I don't know just the whole institutionalization of it just feels a little bit much. But public criticism is a big thing that he's also for, which I'm sure will also send HR people up a wall and have them wanting to schedule one-on-ones with their meetings.
I think there's a place for public what would you call that? Like dissent?
Well, he says public,
or like,
he's saying public criticism. Like he's
He's criticizing somebody.
Somebody publicly saying, we're all gonna learn from your mistakes because you messed up.
Yeah, why should you be the only person to learn?
Which, when you phrase it that way, it kind of makes sense.
That's true.
I don't know how. I don't know how, like, if it's felt that way, but I definitely think that if it's the culture and it's not targeted towards one person, then that can be a really powerful
It can
form
be.
of getting people on the same page.
There is that story of him being so public that he did it in the bathroom.
Where he'll like walk up.
Some guy was taking a leak. He walked up to, hey, what are you working on?
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know, not much. Or he was like, how you doing? He goes, yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And Jensen just waited there for him to give him the status report. It's like, dude, I'm trying to take a leak here.
They like joke about it how there's the so if you're a woman listening to this, as a man, when you go into a bathroom and there's a whole bunch of urinals, it's like
common courtesy.
It's a courtesy to not take the one next to somebody.
If there's other open.
Right?
You leave one in between.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there's this anecdote
that should be safe with the super secret, but
of him walking up and taking the one directly next to one of his employees there. And then the guy didn't really know what to say, so he just started thinking like, okay, I don't want to get fired, so I'm just gonna say all these things I'm working on. And then he said Jensen didn't say a word, but he was just looking at him. And then after he was done saying like 20, 30 things that he was working on, he just looked at him and went, okay. And then he like zipped up his pants and then like walked out.
Like what? It's wild because like that would really, I think, rub me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, like respect some of my privacy here.
Mm-hmm.
But also I think it shows like Jensen's newer character in terms of like calling people out and wanting to like just be on top of everything.
But I don't even think that's just like a call out. There's also this thing too where he has this aura around him of being so, you know, that I think people just kind of spill when they're around him.
Right.
Like, you know, like, I'm working on this. He's like, okay. For all we know, Jensen could have just been in there like, man, I like went in there to take a pee. This guy just like kept talking to me about. I don't think that's the case. I think he was probably good. But in terms of the criticizing publicly is one of those things that people in person don't really like.
It's a huge like red flag, I think, for a lot of people in a corporate space.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we're all on the same page. I won't say anything about you if you don't say anything about me.
Yep.
And then have somebody come in and be like, no, you messed up, and that's bad. And like people trying to then temper the language where they're saying like, do we have to be like call people out right here? Can we do it in a one-on-one? You know? Is something where we
something that I think is interesting is always when what happens if Jensen messes up? Who's gonna call him out? And that's something that I've always kind of like struggled with, is that I think it's a good culture to have. I think it's like a really good practice to have. But the person who's at the tip of the spear, if they mess up, there's nobody to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
And so it gets to the spot where it's like you're basically a dictatorship, which I guess all companies basically are. But it gets into this weird spot where for me it's a really like high wire balancing act to not just be an asshole, kind of. If you think that, you know, everything you do, you never have a mistake in. And everybody that's under you always makes mistakes.
Well, I think
you know?
He's very open about saying, like, I am not perfect and I mess up. Like, even when they hit a crazy goal, I can't remember the specific situation, he was like, I wake up every morning and I tell myself I suck.
Yeah.
And I think that seems like a lot. Like, I wake up every morning and I tell myself I suck. But I do think the point is that I'm not perfect either. And the only reason why I criticize you is because I know I'm not perfect. And so if I'm criticizing myself, like, there's that too. But I also think that there's the aspect of, I would hope that he cultivates a space where he does accept critiques.
I would hope so. But
you know?
How rare is that? You know what I mean? Like, how rare is that to someone to actually be like, oh yeah, like the same public confrontation that I'm giving, you need to give me. Like, it almost never happens. Never happens.
But and I think that there is that element of building that up. Like, one thing that I noticed working with some clients is that, like, we've taken on some people that are in small businesses, and one of the people is a very loud character, and if you don't, but he's also very willing to take feedback, but you have to understand that, he will say he'll critique you, but you can't let that get in the way of critiquing him. And I think a big part of it is the responsibility of somebody who is of employee in that situation to critique the person and not be scared of losing their job. Because if you critique your boss and then they say you're fired, then that's not a place you should want to work at anyway.
Correct.
You might have been scared and operating out of fear of losing that job, but big picture, it's a better thing that you got fired from critiquing that person on something that you genuinely thought was wrong, as opposed to saying, no, I'm not going to say anything to just make sure that I keep my stuff up. Because I think a big thing that a lot of successful people worry about is or a downfall, if they're not worrying about it, is falling into the trap of surrounding yourself with yes men.
Right.
And a lot of times, like, if I'm trying to get in with a really successful person, I try to be as honest as I can. And I will make, like, jokes, and I'll try to make it as friendly as possible, because I know that they're lacking that. They probably have more people around them that don't give them the honest truth. And so if there's ever an opportunity where I'm like, I won't will things out, right? But if there's ever an opportunity where I'm like, I don't know if I really agree with that.
Right.
If that's with a client who's essentially the boss, right? Mm-hmm. If that's with a leader, if it was like a VC, even when it was like at Rocket, it was like sometimes some people didn't take it right. But then other times it was like, okay, at least I'm an honest voice. And I'd rather have that be my reputation than somebody who's like, will placate the person.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I think like that's one of those things where if you're somebody who's not like a founder, it's like, or you're not always going to be in that role. It's like, this one of those things too. It's like, nobody's really the boss at the end of the day. Somebody's always answering to somebody else.
Right.
And that's just the nature of shit. And if it's not in the workplace, it's a friend, it's a family member, it's somebody. And like just being honestly and truthful about stuff when you disagree is...
And that's from that perspective. And from another perspective, if you are leading somebody, give them the space to disagree with you.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Yeah.
What do you think?
And then don't be like, you're fired if they do disagree with you.
Yeah. That is one thing that I'll say too is the people that I have seen that have been more vocal, they balance it out by continuously soliciting other people around them. What do you think? What do you think? Does it sound weird to you? Okay, cool. Right. I didn't really like that idea. I thought that was shit. What do you think? Oh, you thought it was good? Okay, let's talk. There's there's some pushback. Seeking conflict. They talk about that a lot. Yes. And I think people think seeking conflict means like the fight of all centuries, but seeking conflict can just be slight agreements and then investigating. It doesn't mean beat the shit out of them emotionally.
It's also like work related. Some people would be like, oh, I don't like what they're wearing.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, what are we talking about?
Wait. Like let's refocus this right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that, creating that space I think is really important.
Absolutely.
Where do we go here? Tortured into greatness.
We talked about that a little bit in terms of going through having the resilience to get through all of those mistakes and or just stumbling through until you can get to greatness. Yeah,
he also said, I will torture you into greatness. He was like, I'm not a fan of leaving people behind. I'd much rather torture them into greatness. But this is something that he said.
Well, it's the same side of the coin, right? Where he says, I'll torture you with greatness or I'll choke you with gold.
No, I will torture you into greatness.
Into greatness.
Yeah.
But you said like leaving people behind.
Yeah.
And so like, I think there's a lot of like, he doesn't mind leaving people behind, but also rewarding the people that are kingmakers in his organization.
Yeah, but I think the nuance there goes to the whole criticize publicly aspect of it. In the founders episode, he talked about Michael Jordan and how that was another person. Michael Jordan would talk about how when Scottie Pippen left, or talked about how when Scottie Pippen was injured for a while, people started to realize that, hey, we might be able to make a move here. We might be able to make an advancement and dethrone the Bulls. Oh. And Michael Jordan was like, we need to turn it up a notch because we can't let them get any type of confidence. And if that means that I have to torture these teammates to get that out of them, then I will, because we're not going to let up.
But that also could mean you lose people along the way.
Yeah. And in like teams, it's a little bit different with basketball teams because, the context is on, the courts, everything's a lot more measurable.
Right.
And there's so many different things that control for people being a little bit more overt. But in the business context, I think it's still the same, where there are some people who will be like, I'll just kind of let you get away with stuff because I don't really care about you and I don't really care about the mission.
Right.
And there's other people that are like, no, I'm going to make sure that I get the best out of you and that I take you to like the areas where I see that you're capable of. And Steve Jobs is another one where at one point I can't remember who it was, but Ivy or
John Ive?
John Ive.
Johnny Ive. Yeah.
Johnny Ive. I was thinking about the Pistons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with Ivy, the basketball player.
Gotcha.
But Johnny Ive he was like talking about some type of criticism that Steve Jobs said. Then he was like, Steve Jobs said, "Oh, I didn't realize that you were so self-centered that you were trying to protect your ego and your relationship with all these people. I thought that you put the product in higher regard." And again, a big part of that, I think, is if you really do want to go for greatness, then you will say things that might not necessarily be true, but they're honest from your perspective, like the way that you're seeing it. And you will go and seek and say, okay, what's under here? What can I understand here to make us better?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very, again, it kind of comes with this kind of, like, I think, high wire balancing act where it's like, who at a company wants to be tortured? You know what I mean? Who actually wants to be tortured? Even if you say the outcome is going to be great.
Yeah.
There's still, at the end of the day, the greatness of working for somebody else. And that's a really hard thing in a culture to define and then also to like push for. It's because if you tell someone, yeah, like I can get you great, but you're always gonna be working for me. It's a weird spot to be in, I think, because I don't think everybody has the same motives.
Well, I think you have to let people go though, because
exactly,
and trust that your system will work on the long haul, because people have said after they've left NVIDIA that they've gone to other places and the pace was just too slow. And they realized after, like, like what we were doing there was like, it felt like a lot, but it was the best that I was at. And I'll even go all the way back to high school basketball.
Yeah.
We had a hard coach, man. Like Coach Carter coach. There was practices where we didn't touch a basketball. And we were just running. Yeah. We were just running separators. He said this is what separates the men from the boys. And, you know, if we missed the line, run it again. And I'm like, how are we still missing lines when we're on the 30th one? Touch the line. Oh my God. But like, there were so many times where it was like, this is terrible, but we ended up playing our best. We had like a 15, 16 game winning streak at one point. Like, because we knew that if we had turned the ball over, we were running. Yeah. And that to me is one of those ones where it's torture you into greatness. Like, this sucks. That was a mistake and we have to punish that. He was also the former West Point guy, so it was basically military. We weren't even like good at basketball. We were just more conditioned.
I think there is like that world where it's like you like even like a basic, for everyone listening to this, if you're not in the tech world, like you just basic everyday life. There's a benefit to having the discipline to keep your body healthy. Yeah. There's a certain level of torture there. Yeah. Where it's like, if you want to live long enough and you want to stay healthy, yeah, you're going to have to go through a couple things. Not everything is just going to be easy for you.
Yeah. I mean, working out could be
like, you need to sweat.
Torture.
you need to sweat. Yeah. You need to elevate the heart rate. And so there is a balance there. Because if you're literally torturing your body, you're going to end up probably, you know, really regretting it later on. Yeah. But there is a spot where it's like, okay, I'm going to torture myself enough to stay and maintain
it's like
my health.
Controlled torture.
Exactly. And that's where I feel like the balancing act is specifically, and it's on the onus of the leaders, the CEO, the founders, to make sure that that space is balanced enough.
You create that space.
Because otherwise, those people that leave are going to go tell everybody, oh, that person sucks. They drive people way too hard and they're just like not fun to work for. And then, you know, you end up in the spot where it's like, that plan, that long-term plan just crumbles.
Yeah, but 100%. Okay, we have operating at the speed of light.
Yes.
That's the only constraint, is basically where I hear that. We're not going to let everybody else tell us.
Can't be done.
Yeah, we're going to let physics tell us what can and cannot be done. And that's
Elon does this too. Bezos does this too. Yeah. I mean, Bezos literally disassembled a bridge to get his yacht out. I mean, Elon decided, okay, we're going to move these rockets across the country, and we're going to do it in a way that might take an extra 14 hours, but it's going to be done, you know, the right way where we don't have to cause too much like commotion and stuff like that. So
and the whole reusable rockets, with also like EVs and electrical vehicles, and how that like turned into a thing. It's no, we're going to let the constraints be the first principles. Physics, and anything beyond that is
another really good one for this. I don't want to cut you off.
That's all I was gonna say.
The other really that I just thought about for this is MrBeast. His videos, specifically the one where they're like, yeah, we're gonna go to the pyramids.
Yeah.
So many people are like, yeah, dude, like, we can't do that. You only got a week to go. Like, you're gonna be there next week. We can't do this, blah, blah, blah. He goes like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it done, and if you can't get it done, that's fine. But I'm gonna find somebody that's gonna get this done. And lo and behold, they got it done, and he was able to go to the pyramids.
That's,
you know, it's those kind of things where it's like he's on such a big scale, you can't tell him it can't get done.
yeah, that's such an interesting space to be in.
Yeah.
Because I think that also comes with a reference point of knowing what's possible.
Yes.
And then being able to then hold the conviction that, okay, we can do that too. Because I think a lot of times when people say no, it's because they, in their worldview, they literally don't see it as being possible. It's a miracle when things like that happen.
Exactly.
So, and it goes to the whole ism of believe it and you'll see it. The
when you believe it,
and we talk a lot, and so that's just stuff that we talk about, but I think that's one of those practical applications where you see it there. Where are we at right now, time-wise?
We're good. We can probably wrap it up here in a couple of minutes here with some of these other ones, because I want to get to the choke with gold. I like that one a lot.
That's the whole Medici.
A little bit.
You want to wrap on that, then maybe go back through the rest on that?
Yeah.
We'll wrap it on that one for this one?
Yeah, the I'll choke you with gold is the line from, was it a book?
No, it was the Medicis in the Renaissance. The Medicis were a really powerful family that basically bankrolled.
There was a letter, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a letter.
And they bankrolled like the whole Renaissance pretty much.
Yep.
And I guess they were trying to recruit an artist, and he said, "Come, I'll choke you with gold."
I will choke you in a letter to the artist. Yeah, that's what it was. And I mean, in the last 5 years, NVIDIA has blown up exponentially. And so he is minting millionaires. Very soon, minting billionaires. And so if you are able to do the work that he needs, he will choke you with gold. And he's very upfront about that. He's not going to try and hoard all the wealth for himself.
And there's another aspect of it where if you're it's really hard to overpay for talent.
That's also true. You recently just saw Zuckerberg come out with this line that said, like, Meta might overspend. We might go over by $10 billion, but guess what? It's okay. Because, like you said, it's kind of hard to overpay for talent.
Yeah. It's like when you find somebody that's that good, if you find your Michael Jordan, if you find your Shohei Ohtani, if you find your Aaron Judge, if you find your, the list goes on.
You're going to pay him.
It's worth it.
LeBron James. Hutchinson.
Yeah, you're Aiden Hutchinson, you're Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing where people look at you, but if you've done your homework correctly and the person actually pans out, it pays dividends.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that, like, and it's even in, we'll even go something that's probably more practical for people. If you're playing fantasy sports.
Yeah.
I recently got into an auction league, which feels a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, when I'm auctioning for these like athletes, and I'm like, but the one thing that I learned pretty early is overspend on your guys.
Yeah.
Go for your guys.
For the top talent.
Go for the top talent, because come season time, you always look back and say, I'm so glad I did that.
Right.
Because being stuck with a mediocre bunch, especially in a competitive setting.
Golden handcuffs.
Exactly. So it's like, no, we're gonna give you these golden handcuffs. We're gonna give you we'll choke you with gold. What a saying.
Yeah, I love that.
That sounds like an Ogilvy saying.
It does. You know? It does.
Yeah.
And this is like, obviously Jensen's still running the company.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be able to do more episodes on Jensen as he continues to kind of just make incredible records in the world. He's the longest running founder of a tech company in the world today, and I think will continue to be for the next couple decades.
Yeah, he's locked in. And is he the longest running founder?
I believe so. Longest running founder with his...
Oh yeah, you know who came to mind was Benioff, but that was after.
It was a little bit after.
Yeah, that was after. Yeah. Check that episode out too, Mark Benioff. We did him a couple episodes back. Also, somebody that we learned a lot from. Has a really interesting career arc and mindset. But let's pick some more of this stuff up on the super secret episode.
Absolutely.
We'll go through more of these, and there's a lot of game there. It's on Constance, but you can access that through the link below. Anything else on Mr. Huang before we go into the The better stuff, the fun stuff, the good stuff.
I don't think so.
Cool.
But yeah, this was a great one. See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.